I want to ask you about all of you, about Jack Watts. I'll start with Garry again. Is he the most maligned player unfairly in the history of the game, Jack Watts? I feel as though he is. If he was sitting here tonight as a Collingwood player, we would be suggesting what a fantastic start that he has made, this man. He's just tracking nicely. If he was down at Geelong, you'd say, at some point in time, this boy is going to develop beautifully. Sam. No. He's a front page, back page story every day. It's the most unfair thing I've seen in
Luke,
5 years in football.
Luckily, I was privy to this very question that was asked of Garry at a Sandringham Football Club function today.
Really?
And I know what he's going to say, and if he doesn't say what he said at Sandringham, I'll prompt him, because he had a couple of startling revelations about why Jackie Watts...
Did I?
My wordy, you did.
Those sorts of things.
Well, why don't you start off with the one that he's not physically suited to play football?
Absolutely. First of all, no big deal about the fact that he's been
Chief,
dropped.
That's what he said.
Hang on, let me talk. No big deal that he's been dropped. I mean, not everyone, but a lot of players have been dropped. You've been dropped?
Yes.
You get dropped too?
I did get dropped.
You did not.
I did. My first year I got dropped.
Well, there you go.
Did you get dropped, Garry?
Not that I can recall.
Oh, no.
Hey,
you're a tool.
Hey, it's not
He
a
is, isn't
big...
he?
What I'm saying is it's not a big deal when you got one of the greatest goal scorers of all time who got dropped to the reserves for not being good enough.
You maybe get a game, Garry, at times when you should have been dropped.
For sent back. No, so I don't think that's a big deal. You got to go back and do...
But is the story a big deal?
Well, in honesty, I don't agree with what you said about him being unfairly maligned and being unfairly treated. No, I just wanted to just jump in there, Guess. I think it's a legitimate story.
I want to hear the end of Gary's answer, because Sam's sitting on something here, and
He's
we need to hear
prodded.
it. Wolf, what do we got?
about to go, and then
Sorry,
Warriors
I
just
did
whacked
cut
me.
you. Sorry.
No, he arrived at a footy club that was in horrible shape, and has had to play in a forward line in a club that doesn't get it in there, and when it doesn't come in great. And his body is not physically suited to play key forward in the modern era. There's no doubt about that. And in a game today, and you have a look across the board right now, big key forwards are struggling. And it's the biggest power forwards, the monster power forwards like Cloak and Josh Kennedy and those guys who are able to compete regularly. He's not a contested mark animal. He's the sort of player who 5 years ago would have had much more success in finding space, more one-on-one footy. He's a microcosm of what's happened to Nick Riewoldt, in as much as that Nick's work rate and his ability to get around the ground has been stymied somewhat by the loose man dropping back. So he needs to go back and continue to develop his footy and the craft and understand, he was a late comer to footy. So he's going to be, I still maintain he's going to be a very good player, Jack Watts. And being dropped tomorrow is for me, as a Melbourne supporter, no big deal.
You need to be prodded, Sam?
Well, how do I go? What else?
So Nick Riewoldt's not physically suited to play football either. Is that what you said?
Right now.
Right now, Nick Riewoldt's not suited physically to play football.
The way the game is played right now doesn't allow Nick to be the dominant player that he once was.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm not certainly arguing. What, Jack's just got a sloping shoulder or a turned eye or a pigeon toe or what?
No, he's not a physical. He's not a contested mark man. He's not a big pack man like Travis Cloak. And he needs space.
But Garry, neither was Travis Cloak at 21 years of age. And
he was. He won a best and fairest. He won a best and fairest in 2007 at the age of 20.
21 years of age. Yeah, Jack Watts is an under-18 to kick 6 goals in a Teal Cup game.
You're making excuses for him, does. He's a senior footballer.
Of course you should, because he's been thrown up by a footy club as their poster boy and pin-up boy. He's been put on advertising campaigns. He's been set up to fail. Yeah. As a key forward, Nick Riewoldt didn't get a kick for 2 years either.
No, that's not true. He did.
Hang on.
He
Let's put a little bit of perspective back on.
He did.
Travis, I think you're being harsh, Warrior.
The voice of reason.
Travis Cloak is an exception to the rule. Big blokes naturally take longer to develop.
I was just pointing out the fact he won a best and fairest at that age.
And then he struggled for 4 years after that.
Josh Kennedy was one of the other names that you mentioned. And he struggled for 3 or 4 years before he got over to West Coast.
Tom Hawkins.
And fully matured. Tom Hawkins was nearly gone last year. And now he's turned the corner.
Give him
They
some
take
time.
4 or 5 years to come into their
and
own.
he got sent back to the VFL like you. He got dropped. Didn't he?
Okay, let's accept all that. Does he give anyone in this box the impression that he's hungry enough to want to succeed?
I have an issue with people that start believing they can read his mind and work out how motivated he is or whether it means that much to him, because only Jack knows that. And for us to guess and to hypothesise on what's going on between his ears, I think is is a flawed argument.
Yep, I agree.
So
You're
we need to be
against
very
clairvoyancy, Chief.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, well, what is he going to become then, Jason? If Garry says he's not cut out to be what the power forward once was, and he can't get that way in the space of even 18 months from now, where's his role in football?
Well, I'll tell you what would make life a lot easier for him is if there were a couple of handy key forwards at Melbourne already, and he could be that floating third tall that can use his capacity to read the play, to run around the ground, to drift in and across packs and pick his mark and work up and then work back. But unfortunately, he's being asked to carry the load at the moment. That's very difficult.
Be able to read the past, Chief, for us. Not good at reading the future. Would they not have picked him as the first draft pick? Should they not have?
Should they not have? Well, did they expect him to dominate in the first couple of years? I wouldn't have thought so. He was a long-term prospect.
I would have thought so.
Look, and history can be rewritten 100 ways, but I would love to go back and ask every club recruiter at that time, had they the number one pick in the draft, who they would have gone for, and I would think over 70% would have selected Jack Watts.
Well, let's get every recruiter from the last 100 years on the line, because we got Tony Polinelli and Doug Wade on last week, and that was a Herculean effort.
Nick Nat knew he went number 2. Now, Nick's development's been unbelievable, and his impact on games is immense. So now the choice looks to have been a wrong one. But I think back at that time, it was very much weighted in favour of Jack Watts.
And you'd like another 10 years before you actually assess the entire argument as well. And what I take exception to, Damo, and not extraordinarily, he as a young man, Sam, has had more attention and more news about himself out of his control because of the fact that he was drafted to a club that's struggling. As a 21-year-old, to have that amount of pressure. But now, look, you get paid well, that's the game, I understand it. I don't think there's been a player in the history of the game that has been as scrutinised or as criticised as a young man who's plying his trade and doing a reasonable job about it. Probably going about where you'd expect him to for what his shape and size and ability is in a club that has got no support around him. I think he's about where you think he should be.
I don't think he's where he should be, Das. I think that's being a bit too common.
Where would you think he should be?
Well, Warren? I think he should be indicating to his own club, which this weekend has dropped him to the VFL, that he is worthy of persevering through this tough patch. This is a new coach who, by round 6 of his own career, has decided to drop this guy on the back of what was some pretty, let's be honest, ordinary form. He's tried him in a few roles, and the issue this week was he didn't tackle hard enough last week. That's clearly a message going to that game. I'm just saying this is the club making the decision. That's not me saying that.
So the club have a focus on contested footy and tackling pressure.
Yep.
In a big game last week where they won the tackle count with over 100 tackles, Jack came away with none. So isn't it fair and reasonable then to say you need to go back and develop and work on that side of the game, given that you've had 45 games in the system?
But that's what I'm saying, that the club has decided to put him back to the VFL. And Das is trying to... I think that is definitely fair. Das is trying to say that he's where he should be.
You don't get guaranteed games. Sometimes getting dropped is good for the development of a player. Oh. It's only the true greats, the really greats, that never actually got dropped. Did you ever get dropped, Garry?
That's irrelevant. No.
What
were you going to say?
What I was going to say, Garry, is that I wouldn't think you need, correct me if I'm wrong, because you often do, I wouldn't think you need a hell of a lot of skill to be a good tackler. I would think that would be basic. Anyone could do that. Even Harmichael could do that, and Israel.
Mindset.
What?
Mindset.
Well, mate, if you can't tackle, or if you don't tackle, I reckon you're on the way. You're to not delivering what the basic premise of football is, not kicking straight or marking or hand passing or being a great reader of the play. If someone's got the agate and you can't tackle them, I mean, heavens above. Yeah. What have we recruited each other for?
And you could maybe also argue that not being able to get a game in that particular team, guys, is not a very good...
Oh, now he's plotting your club wolf.
Come back firing bullets, the Warrior. We need to get to our first break, Garry, and come back. You can follow us on Facebook, of course, Twitter, or text us 1999 1051, or simply go to m.com.au. We need to speak to the Foss.
And we need to hear Wolf's response to that slap in the face from Damo just then.
You didn't get dropped, did you?
Yeah, I did.
How many times?
I reckon I got dropped a couple of times in my first
year. More than
year.
Once?
Yeah. We were big and strong, and you had a shock of hair in those days. You would have frightened a lot of people. Just for your scare value, you should have been picked.
A beautiful head of hair, Sam.
Yeah, I know. I remember it.
It was magnificent.
It used to flow.
Yes.
We'll give Garry a chance to respond to Damo, who's come back with a bit of extra strut tonight after, it's fair to say, being dropped last week.
Can we just go back to a 5-year deal for Jack Viney, a player who's a future father-son. He's too young to play at the moment. Who do you reckon wins out of that deal, club or player?
Well, given that he's probably going to be a top 3 pick, I reckon you'll find, Chief, and I say this with a great deal of confidence, Melbourne.
I would have thought so too. I think it'd be so hard to actually get what you think might be a reasonable term down the track.
I misread the question. You mean from a player or club point of view? Oh, I think Jack. I think the deal was pretty good and good for Jack as well. He's got some security. And
he has, but in 2 or 3 years' time, if he bursts onto the scene and he's an instant star, he might be getting gross unders.
I didn't realise it was a 5-year deal.
Yeah, I just pricked my ears at that then.
He will be compensated to the correct level should he come on and play in the manner that they think. There's no doubt about that.
And they might top it up by giving his dad a Mr. Whippy franchise or something a la Tom Scully, who I think
Mr.
is...
Whippy franchise.
Well, something, because Tom Scully's dad, I think, is on $300 million a year for... opening the doors when the stadium opens.
He's a recruiting officer.
That's right. He's recruiting people into the stands.
Which
Go
is
that
now
way. No, 8C is down here.
Oh no!
Now included in the salary cap, Tom Scully's father.
Well, that's
Greater Western
franchise
Sydney.
then.